Angie Andrews' eyesight. I have limited time, so I'm going to keep this short and sweet. I used to always joke that I was a recovering Catholic. In fact, I say it often, still to this day. And the reason being is because most teenagers, when we're growing up, we're going to do the direct opposite of what strict parenting or controlling, micromanaging parents would be telling us to do. If going to church is one of them, then most likely the parents then become that greatest obstacle to their child ever professing faith and living for Jesus outside of their house once they move out. It's a classic thing. I see it all the time. And it basically boils down to, you don't have anything I want, Rents. And so the kids are like, peace out. You're strict, you're mean, whatever it is. And so children definitely assimilate a judging Father in heaven with the amount of disrespect and or control that they experience under their own roof. I call it the house rules. Generally speaking, they're the very reason why mom and dad then blame the kid and make the child the scapegoat for not living correctly. Just went to a crazy church on a Thursday night that was really professing that fire and brimstone, and I had to excuse myself before gagging so that I could just say, wow, this is some serious hate being slung around here. So I remember when I was in Catholic school, we had a Muslim teacher, and she told this young lady who was a student in my class to stand up and read her book report, and made her continue to stand as she then read the jacket of the actual book, which was word for word plagiarized, and just publicly humiliated this girl. And I remember wanting to crawl under the desk. I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm so embarrassed for her. But I really it just widened the chasm for me between wanting to believe in any God. I mean, this lady was not even professing Jesus. She was a Muslim, and she was in a Catholic school, which goes, with kind of like my theory that, Catholic people just, they sometimes open themselves up to any kind of portal unknowingly because they're like, oh, all avenues lead to Christ. Just not so. But this was like a mean-spirited authority figure, and I just associated it directly to God. Like, oh my gosh, he is just looking to squash us like a bug and just slam that gavel down like the judge. So later on, I became a Christian by choice. I was older and I was away from my family, so I was basically looking for a surrogate family. Hence, why not go to church? There's supposed to be a loving God. Can I knock on the door and find him in there? I don't know. So I wanted to give it a whirl, and I hung in there for about a good year or so. But the thing I quickly learned was all the fighting and feuding that goes on in Christian circles. And just because you're Christian does not mean you all think alike, let me tell you. And Angie was, that poster child for sexual sin. Oh dear. And I had to stand up in front of the congregation and confess that I was in a sexual relationship. I was helping all these kids in the inner city of Patterson Park, putting feeding tubes in their noses because they all were victims of incest, or they were products of incest. And, they were going to give me a bus so that I could go down and continue to evangelize and heal and work with these babies. But tisk, 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 I had a boyfriend, and darn it, we slept together. So I thought, oh my gosh, the sky is falling. And it took me immediately back to Catholic school when this teacher was making a public spectacle out of that student. And I thought, this is for the birds. I'm really not on board with this. If this is the way God's people act, I'm out. So I went through a long journey, a process of disillusionment, and church became that thing that I was recovering from altogether. It was now we've migrated into I'm a recovering churchgoer. And I came to the South and was really kind of drying up. I had seen through ministry school miracles, signs, and wonders, but I wasn't seeing them, in the Georgia borders unless I was bringing them. And so I had to venture into watching the movie The Shack And the guy who wrote the foreword to the book of the shack, Wayne Jacobson, also wrote a book, So You Don't Want to Go to Church Anymore. Now that book is just amazing, and people get all in a tizzy because they're like, how could you even suggest me reading this, because I love my church? And I'm like, well, we weren't called to go to church, people. We were called to be the church. And so I'm just saying, open up your mind a little bit, because Catholics like to read just Catholic stuff, but then you got the Baptist line that just sticks with Baptists, and I'm just like, whoa, wow, really? You guys just need to venture out. Why are we not seeing healings? That's my question. People walking out of wheelchairs. Why are we not doing the things of Jesus? I don't know. That's kind of like the thing that Wayne Jacobson sat down with me and he said, continue writing, share your testimony, because that is the spirit of prophecy. Which brings me to the aha venture. I had words spoken over me 21 years ago, and I'm just now seeing them come to pass. Prophetic, powerful words. And they're happening because all of that disillusionment and not wanting to be made a public spectacle out of and hurt by authority figures had to happen so that I basically would get to the place where I am now. And we get to read books that educate us, like People of the Lie. This is not by Wayne Jacobson, but it's by Scott Peck. And things like this will just simply point out the obvious of why religious organization is a business. And it really doesn't work for the people that are longing to be spiritual, longing to be out and evangelizing and not told that they're just ostracized and they need to go, suck sand in the desert because they're too woohoo. I've been told that many times. So back it up, when I first got saved, one of my bosses at the Cheesecake Factory, Glenn, he knows the story. I said, you're going to be a missionary to the Philippines one day. And he's like, yeah, okay, Angie, like, I don't even believe in God. You're weird, whatever. And lo and behold, when I was going through this, dry time in my walk, because I just wanted to see the miraculous and live it, he calls me and he's like, why don't you come to North Carolina? And I'm home from the Philippines because I am indeed that missionary that you prophesied I would be. And let's just break bread and hang out together. So I was all about it. I'm driving 5-7 hours, what the heck it was. And when I got down there, I'm like, well, I'm not going to your church. I'm not going to any church. I'll chill with you, but no, I don't go to church. And he's like, I really want you to come. And I'm like, I really don't want to come. And it's like, 4 a.m. and I need lots of sleep. So ding dong, the 7 a.m. alarm goes off and he's like, you're coming. God told me you have to come. And I'm like, dang it. So I go, I show up. The Lord's like, get out of the seat, go up and dance. I'm like, I really don't think these people are going to like that. And he was like, you don't answer to man. Why are you fearing man? And I've not called you to do this. And I'm like, this is true. I'm a risk taker. Like, oh my gosh, I'm here. Let's make the best of it. I go up there and dance my fool head off. It's cool being foolish for the Lord. And so as I'm dancing, I hear like people falling to the ground, like thuds and wailing, and people are crying, and I'm just like, okay. And the pastor's like shutting it down. He's like, okay, dismissed. Like, we don't need any of this. Like, okay, everybody can leave. And I'm thinking, don't open your eyes. Just keep in the spirit. This is kind of a cool groove. And I was like, whoa, this is awesome. And then I open my eyes and there's lines. Like, there's people coming up and they want prayer. And then there's the deacons and the elders, and they come over and they're just like, thank you for doing that. You broke the yoke that was heavy and da-da-da. And I'm like, okay, I'm just doing what Jesus said. And, actually didn't want to come here in the first place because I really hate church. And then there was this chick, and she's like, well, I have a word for you. She's like, you're that nomad. You've just been in the desert for so many years asking the Lord, when is it going to be a moment where you can see the breakthrough that has been prophesied over your life? And he's saying that he knows you're lonely, and he's seen you going around and touching all the lives of these people, because when you actually depart from them, you leave an oasis, a watering hole that they can come and drink deeply from, and that they will never be the same again. Now, I'm only sharing this because I have had to seek the word for comfort and to keep myself on the narrow path. And I've recently been reading Acts 8. And in that, I find a person that I can commiserate with, Philip, because he was a protector of the people. He distributed food, but he got people saved. He cast out demons. He was laying hands on the sick and they recovered. They were healed. And I've walked in all of those things, but here's my favorite. He transported, just totally met this guy in the desert, and it was some upper echelon, highfalutin guy that he met, and he took one-on-one time to talk with this man who went out from that encounter after he got baptized and spread the gospel and reached thousands more people. And the Lord is now telling me to tell you this, to encourage you to say, focus on the one. Because that girl in 5th grade, when I was focused on her, my heart went out to her. And it's people like that all along that I've been broken over, because the church and people in authority have done a disservice, because they've made God someone scary and ugly, and he's not. But we've had to go walking around in the desert very lonely for long periods of time, because we really are carrying the anointing. Because why? We understand that everybody else has also been shamed in the name of God. And there needs to be a redemptive uprising that happens right now. We just need to take back all of the people that have been hurt. All the people that have been hurt and ostracized and said, you go in a desert and suck sand. Because those people, just watch. Those people, they're the spiritual ones that are going to be bringing in a wave of love and kindness and forgiveness. And it's here. And I am a part of it. And you're going to see it. It's awesome.